Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this live discussion for the future of education in underserved communities. Just for me to be sure, can we all hear me? Godwin, can you hear me, please? Hello, Godwin, can you hear me? Emmanuel, can you hear me, please? You can confirm if you can hear me. Hello? Can anyone hear me, please? All right, thank you very much for the feedback. I'm sure to be joined by a fantastic set of people who will be joining me in this discussion as we try to navigate the whole part of underserved communities and making sure that education is accessible in this area. I'll be giving a little bit of introduction for the people that are joining me for this live discussion. I will start by introducing Godwin John Baba. Godwin John Baba is an EdTech leader and is also a product manager. His friend is also joining me on this show, Emmanuel. Emmanuel is a business developer and is also an edtech leader. And finally, we have a product designer in our midst, Mutsurayo Adaramoye Eniola. She would also be joining us. I would also like to appreciate everyone that has tuned in to join us for this live discussion. Thank you so much for your time and for the opportunity to actually discuss with you the future of education in underserved communities. And so, without wasting further ado, I would like the other guests to introduce themselves or to just say "I" if they can hear me, so we can proceed. Godwin, if you can hear me, you can just say hello.
This call this evening. I'm sure you're going to have a good time. Thank you.
All right, Emmanuel, can we hear from you, please? I'm not sure Emmanuel's network is good. Can you hear me? All right, Godwin, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Loud
All
and
right, I
clear.
guess others will just join us much later on. Raya is not here as well. She will be joining us later on. So basically, we'll be covering key topics around interactive learning, digital literacy, and the role of digital tools in transforming education, especially. And for those who
Yeah.
face limited access to resources, we would love for you to join the conversation as well. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll definitely attend to those questions. Um, Actually, before we proceed, I would just like us to have a background knowledge of what education in underserved communities is all about, and how Oppia is trying as much as possible to make use of their platform to make sure that education actually gets to these underserved communities. The truth is that we don't need to look so far to to understand or to know what underserved communities is all about. Underserved communities is all around us. It's basically not a place where you feel that okay, and this place is far, it has to do with distance. No, basically every aspect, every area that has limited access to the use of technologies and underserved community. And so I don't want us to start thinking that okay, maybe this is not referring to me, maybe this is limited in my own aspect, or it doesn't pertain to me. No, basically everyone who doesn't have access to edtech, education technology, is experiencing as an underserved communities experiencing lack of access to technology with the use of education. And so, Godwin, I would just like you to give us a brief understanding of what you have concerning education technology in underserved communities.
Okay. First of all, when we talk about underserved communities, we're talking about a community of people who are underserved. That means it's not as if they are not learned to an extent. They don't just have access to what makes them adequate citizens. You understand? So, in this context, we are talking about people in the community where they don't have access to digital literacy. They don't have access to adequate technology. You understand? So, it's not as if they are not literate enough. They are, but they just have limitation in their access to technology. So we are here this evening to talk about how we can access those people in underserved communities and then bring them up speed. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Gadwin. So, in my bid to actually understand this old underserved communities issue, I went to the markets of Jos. I spoke to some of the market women. I visited the shops of some of those parents. I spoke to some of the kids as well, just to be able to understand and see things from their own perspective. Because the truth is that if you're trying to address issues that pertain to underserved communities, I mean, we expect that these people do not have access to this technology that we are making use of at the moment. And so, our best to understand their plight and to go meet them and then bring their questions, provide answers to those questions, and give them feedback. And so, I made a compilation of some questions that they asked. I mean, they were so curious. They wanted to know. So I compiled some of the questions they had, and we'll be addressing those questions in today's live discussion. And so, the first question we'll actually be addressing today is the state of education in underserved communities. To start, let's talk about the current state of education in underserved areas. I mean, many parents worry about their children dropping out of school due to financial challenges and lack of engagement with traditional schooling. So, I would like to hear from our speakers. How can interactive learning and digital literacy make education more appealing and accessible for these children? I mean, how does digital technology make this education accessible for them such that they find it easy to assimilate and also understand whatever it is they are being taught? I mean, I was speaking with somebody recently and she mentioned the fact that when you actually teach a child something, there's a very high possibility that the child will forget. But when you show the child that thing, I mean, which is why when children watch cartoons and other things, they find it easy to actually, remember those things even after watching them for a very long time. And that is because they've been shown, they were not taught. And so, what is the impact of technology in education in helping these students have a retentive understanding of what has been taught to them? Pardon, you can go first.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to shed more light on this. So, just like you rightly said, children tend to stick to their memory what they see rather than what they hear. You understand? Because what they see is relatable, they can feel, they can touch it. Um, Let me give an instance. I have a cousin who's at the early age of 6. He was able to download games from Play Store on his father's iPad, and then he was able to play them. And that's because he could relate, he could see, he could, as in you are doing something, you are seeing the progress therein. You understand? So there's this joy that comes with your success. Let me use that word because as you're downloading the game, you're seeing the game being downloaded on the iPad, so you're seeing your success as you're advancing. You understand? So technology is making a lot of impact on these children because it is what they can see and what they can relate with. You understand? And then once the technology is being streamlined to their needs, maybe when you use infographics, when you use cartoons to pass messages, they find it more accommodative because this is what they can relate with, other than seeing a figure in front of them teaching them mathematics, teaching them English.
Exactly.
But when you have
Exactly.
something you can relate with, you're seeing a cartoon figure, maybe you're having two cartoons, you're now putting plus three cartoons. I would say it's five. It's relatable, you understand? Other than writing
Yeah.
two on the board and then writing, because even when we are small, you say three oranges plus four oranges, you say seven. That's because we've interacted with oranges. It is
It's
easier for us to
relatable.
be able to
Yes.
relate with it, and then it sticks to our memory, and then it stays for a long number of years. You understand? So we can make use of infographics, we can make use of text to pass our messages. So let it be relatable to the children so that once they get to learn it, it sticks to their brain and then it stays for a very long period of time. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your response, Gadwin. Emmanuel, do we have you? Can you hear me, please?
Hi, I can hear you, but I'm not sure if you can hear me.
All right, I
Yes,
can
we
hear
can hear
you.
you.
Okay, oh, sorry, I'm having a bit of technical challenge, so I'm even unable to turn on my camera, so but I guess we can go this way.
Yes, this is fine. This is fine as well. And so, can we just hear from you your perspective about the state of education in underserved communities?
All right, thank you very much, and I'm excited to be a part of this discussion. So, education in underserved communities, of course, just like the name implies, underserved. Usually, you have very, very low reach of education. Maybe because they don't have the facilities. Maybe because for countries like Nigeria, they are just neglected by the government. They don't care. You go to a school where you have dilapidated buildings. You don't even see the instructional material. So the exciting thing for me is I read education. I studied education chemistry in school. So I understand personally firsthand how these things work, where you go to a school and then even sometimes even the teachers themselves, they are not necessarily qualified to be in the classroom because probably they just needed a job and then someone is out of school, is not being interviewed, he doesn't understand how the system works, and then he gets the job and you at the end of the day, you end up having students or who are finishing secondary school or primary school who cannot even read and write. So, because personally I've been in those areas, I grew up in those areas, so I understand I'm talking from experience. So I think it's it's a sad story if you ask me. So, and I think for me, something has to be done so that we get the right set of talent out of this nation, out of Africa per se, to be able to compete at a global stage. So I just feel like the condition of on education in the South community is just so terrible. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel, for your response. I really appreciate. And one thing is that recently I was also in a discussion, and one thing that was mentioned was the fact that we are used to one thing in Nigeria here, and which is one thing I did while I was in school as well. I mean, I could say that practically the 5 years I spent in university, I basically did lacram lapo. I mean, for those that are watching us right now, they're not so familiar with what lacram lapo is. It's basically you trying to, understand something in a very short period of time, and you're just going to write the exam just for the sake of it. So let me just write and let me pass. I don't really care if I have a basic understanding, a good understanding of what the topic or the subject matter is talking about. I just want to write and pour my exam. And I think this is what it has affected us a lot because most people don't care. They don't care if there could be other means they could use. I mean, most schools don't care if they have to actually get those people that have the right skills, the right education to be actually able to take the students and help them understand. I mean, most schools don't have computer labs. It's like it's not even a fund, it's not a necessity, and so it does not give these children the opportunity to be able to practice these things. While I was doing my outreach and showing students all around that they could actually learn with their phone, I got a lot of weird questions. I mean, it was so strange. I mean, I spoke to a boy and he was telling me that, oh, do you mean that I can actually learn instead of playing games on my mommy's phone? It was so surprised. And his mother was as well, because she said that this will give the child the opportunity to be able to do other things rather than playing games all this while. I think the problem is the fact that some people, or should I say, these underserved communities are ignorant about these things. And so the fact that they do not know is actually a disadvantage to them. And so doing this would help them understand and bring them to that limelight of knowledge that they need to have. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. So I would like us to move on to the next questions. And the next question is access to digital tools. Now, we know that access to digital tools like smartphones and computers is limited in many rural areas. What are some innovative strategies or solutions that could be implemented to bridge this gap? Godwin?
Okay, thank you so much, Tiwa, for that question. Okay, like one thing we normally do, that was 10, 15 years ago when I was in school. We have a computer lab, though it was limited. The only thing we did was go to the computer lab, sit on the computer, shut it down, and then we are out. You understand? So I believe if schools in underserved communities could collaborate with non-governmental organizations, could collaborate with community-based organizations, they could even collaborate with the state government or the federal government at that level to get some of these computers down to the schools, and then they could be streamlined to a particular classroom where it could be named the computer lab, and then basically there should be a time allocated for digital digital literacy. There should be time allocated for students to learn digital tools. You understand? Maybe even if it's an hour, if it is 2 hours in a day after maybe the first lessons of the day, they should be taken to those classes, and then they should be taught digital tools. You understand? So by so doing, we have the tools there in the school, and then the student will be eager to come to school every day because he knows if he comes to school, there's a time allocated for him to go use the computer and then learn digital tools. You understand? So these schools could collaborate with NGOs, just like I said, collaborate with community-based organizations, collaborate with the government to get these computers in the school, you understand? And then the students will learn with it, and then they could be brought up speed as regards digital tools. So I think that's what I have to say. So
Thank
like
you
the
so
network
much,
already out
Captain.
there.
Emmanuel, can we hear from you?
All right. So I think for me, my perspective is closer to what Godwin just said, really, because I think there are no brainers to this thing. Uh, you can't innovate your way out of lack of infrastructure. There is no. It's not like technology where you just get to write some bunch of codes and then you get to solve the problem, right? It has to be the normal approach where you have to provide this system either by partnership, the collaboration God we spoke about, or you just have to take the money out of your pocket to do these things. So for these communities to really interact with digital tools, there has to be someone who should provide them. So there are no free things, right? Even the things they gave you on scholarship, someone had to pay for it. So there has to be organization, there has to be individuals. So for me, it boils down to collaboration. Go to the right organizations who are willing to help. There are a bunch of organizations that are supporting these courses, right? You just partner with them and then they provide this equipment, bring in the computers, bring in the smartphone, bring in the internet, access to internet, and then let the people have access to this and keep learning. I think that's the only way, to be honest.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you very much. I would just like to say that I think it actually even starts from the schools themselves. I mean, I understand that the schools might not necessarily have access to this computers and everything, but I mean, I just feel that it wouldn't hurt for a school to have, even if it is just one computer, just so that children can come, the students can come and then practice, make use of them, have an understanding. I wouldn't be surprised. It's not even I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, most of these children don't even know how to turn up a computer, turn it off. And that is because they are not being taught these things. They are not used to it. And so when they see it, they are amazed about how those things work because they are not yet familiar with these things. Okay, so now we have Mutsiraya Adaramoye. Raya, can you hear us, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much for attending and you're welcome. Rayo, I would just like to hear your take on the next question we are taking, access to digital tools. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, okay. So we're talking on the access to digital tools. What do you have to say? I mean, concerning the access for the South communities, what do you have to say about tools?
Oh, okay. So I think I heard Emmanuel talking, and you also said like the school have to provide even if it's one computer. So I attended a public school, and we were privileged to have over 15 computers. But then we were not using it at all till I graduated. I think the only time is just to compile results and all of that. So if even if they have the computers, are there assurance that they are going to use it to teach these students? So we have to make sure that even as we are looking for sponsors to provide computers, we look for tutors that are capable to teach students how to use the computer and also the way to learn this, uh, this method. You understand? And then it's actually easier for children to learn when they see something that they watch. And we are talking about digital class. I think everybody have always been teaching on the board using marker and all of that. Images always have to watch and learn things. Like most of these people don't have televisions in their homes. You get so when you're not teaching them some simple things that they can see and relate to their phone and everything, that will help them learn. So I think we will school to start using their computer because many have it but they don't use it. We never even had like computer at all. The computers were just there for all of us that knew, probably because our parents knew about the fact that we have to learn how to use a computer and we have to learn outside, not even the school. So I think we should just incorporate computer into our syllabus and our timetable. So that way it will be easier for them to learn using this. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Raya. Actually, Raya also doubles as a product design tutor. So she has experience teaching young people and the aspect of tech. I mean, she teaches them product design. And then I know from the interactions I've had with Raya, when she returns back home and she tells me about the children she taught product design at the tech hub where she works, she's always telling me that, okay, um, there's no, I would like to say that if there were familiarity between these children and the devices that they use, I cannot believe that it would have made our work easier. Raya, what do you think? I cannot believe that if there were familiarity between these children and the devices that they're actually using now to learn product design, it would have made the work easier and there would be little or no. Okay, we are getting a lot of feedback. Okay, it's better now. So if there were familiarity, I feel that it would be much easier for us to pass on this understanding and this knowledge to them. So teaching those children product design will be easier for them to understand. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Do you think they
Okay.
are very familiar with the?
So that teaching them how to use the computer. So I have these students, and it was really hard trying to teach her product design and everything. My aim was like, oh, I'll just teach you how to use the Figma app, how to do this and that. But she could not even move a frame from one place to another. And I had to ask her, do you know how to use the computer? She said, no, this is first time using a computer. I'm surprised. And she's already in university. So this is that bad. Like, even if we don't have like a laptop and everything, at least the desktop we have in school, we should try to teach them how to use them, how to use the mouse. This is why most times, I'm sorry if I'm deviate, people kind of fail jam. They might be smart, but some of them, that might be the first time they
Yeah.
actually get your exam.
Yes.
So they will be confused and then time will go off and they will not even do it. So this is part of it. Even as we are trying to help them learn, we have to help them get used to these devices that are even the mobile phones, the tablet, and even a laptop or something. So that's why I have to say that we really have to start teaching them how to use computers. In this age and time, we still have children that don't know how to do anything on the computer. So that's one of the basic problems we
I
have.
agree with you. I agree with you, Rayo. Because there's usually this thing that we do here when we want to write challenges, and you go for CBT classes to learn how to use the computer to answer questions. I mean,
We
if
go
we were doing this thing even from the onset, it would be easier for us to just go there and use the computer, not just for some extra lessons, all because you want to pick the right answer, you want to stick within the time frame you're
and
given.
they just teach you how to
I like that perspective you're coming from. I like the perspective you're coming from. Thank you very much. Okay, so the third question we'll be taking now is how to make the learning fun and engaging. I mean, a big part of student engagement comes when the learning process is enjoyable and relatable. Godwin was saying something earlier. I said, when you teach people, I mean, children addition, it's much more relatable for them when you things that they can, things that they see. And so when you tell them three plus and three oranges plus two oranges, they know that it is fine because it's something they can relate to. When you ask them to sum up their cartoons, they know it is something they can relate to. So they find it easy to answer those questions. So I would say that we could actually, embed technology into education in such a way that it is fun for these children. Emmanuel, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I can go first. Yeah, I think for me, I have more like a first-hand experience. I wouldn't say it's a complete experience. So, remember earlier I said I studied chemistry education. So, for my undergraduate project, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to gamify chemistry practicals particularly. And what was the reason? I felt like for the most part, some of the concepts in chemistry is usually abstract, and then when you teach it to students, they just feel it's boring. Actually, they are sleeping and all that. So I was thinking, what's the best way? Can we just find a way to gamify this? And yeah, I wanted to gamify um, chemistry practical starting from titration. And aside that, I felt like the tools you needed in the lab is limited. Sometimes you go to a school, they don't have the acid where you get to do titration and all that. I felt it's possible to do that. And the reason is it becomes interactive, it becomes fun, where each student can just, and let me put this straight that in big 2024, there is no way a teacher is stopping students from using a smartphone in the name of I don't want you to be distracted. No, I don't buy that idea. I think the only thing you should do is to find a way to help that student to productively use the smartphone. So, and I feel that's the way you can do it by gamifying some of this subject, whether it's mathematics, whether it's English language, whether it's chemistry or physics. So that's the way it can become fun for the student. They can sit down in their houses, right? And then just be pressing their phone rather than scrolling through the TikTok. They are playing these games and it's fun. And I have this concept where instead of grading these students, right, don't grade them because grading makes you feel pressured. You want to meet up to the task. No, give them batches. For the, I didn't do to go right, but for those who did to go, they will tell me while I was doing to go, they gave us badges from grandmaster to
Yes,
professional to whatever
yes,
it
I
is.
remember.
So
I
people
remember
want to get to that level. So imagine you gamify this subject and then you give them batches, right? For example, from JSS1 to let me even start from SS1, and then you come on the assembly ground and you say that the grandmaster for this week, based on the task that was given, is this student. The student feels proud, right? So every student wants to meet that task. So when they go back home, they are trying to solve a puzzle, they are trying to solve a mathematical equation, they're trying to solve a chemistry problem because they want to be grandmaster so that when they come to the assembly ground, they know
that.
definitely they will be announced. And then for the whole week, they are the grandmaster, they'll be working shoulder high. So everybody wants to meet that target. I feel like when we gamify this subject, I think it's it for me. Rather than just teaching it abstract, stopping students from coming to the school with their phones or not using phones, it's going to divert their attention from excessive social media to solving problems, and that's how we can go from, from worse to better. And that's my take.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Emmanuel. Honestly, I would like to take it up from where you dropped. As a product designer myself, I remember there was one time like that. I designed an educational website, yes. And so basically I thought of, okay, if you're actually giving kids feedback based on, okay, you scored 6 out of 10, you scored 2 out of 10 rather, it might not really do much, it might not help much. It's much more better to help them, let it look as if they are climbing a ladder. Let it look as if, they're actually progressing towards something. And so I thought of what to do. And so I came up with a leaderboard. I think it's always better when instead of, okay, giving them a score or a particular, position and whole, come up with a leaderboard such that they can see that, okay, presently I'm here. And so for me to get to the next stage, I mean, the next thing that is needed for me to progress, I need to be able to do this such that I can progress to this stage. And so that gives them a sense of accomplishment such that they know that, okay, I'm presently here and I'm proud of what I am doing. So I really agree with you on that. Godwin, can we hear from you, please?
Okay, Emmanuel has actually said a lot, and I'll just add a little. I think we should incorporate the act of storytelling, you understand, in digital education because, as a matter of fact, I think I can still remember stories I was told 15, 20 years ago. You understand? Imagine teaching literature by the act of storytelling, and it is relatable with the children in underserved communities because let's assume you're teaching a child business education, and then you're using the woman who sells fish down the street to give an example of profit and loss. You understand? It makes it very relatable because while he was coming to school, he saw the fish on the road. So he's now thinking, okay, so they mean if they buy fish for 100 naira, they sell it 120, they've gotten a profit of 20 naira. So it's relatable. Imagine subjects like English language where you have comprehension, and then this comprehension are brought out as stories, you understand? And then, just like Emmanuel said, at the end of the at the end of the comprehension, you now have games that actually levels you up based on what you've learned in the storytelling. It makes it very much easier for the children to learn, and then it sticks to their brain very easy because there is what storytelling does, and it is that it is first of all relatable, and then it takes longer number of years before it erases from someone's brain. You understand? So just like you said, let's incorporate games, and then let's incorporate storytelling into our act of education, and then I think with that it makes learning very very interactive. It makes learning very very interesting, and then the next learning what to look up onto. Yeah, so I think that's what I can say about this.
Thank you so much, Godwin. Thank you so much. Ryo, do you have anything to say concerning this? Okay, so I'll just like first because our time is flying so fast, and this is just supposed to last for what? Um,
Let's move to the next question if our network is
Yeah,
bad.
yes, please. We'll be doing that. We'll be doing that. So I'll just like to talk about the role of parents in digital education. Now we've been talking about the questions that this parent actually have, but they actually do have a role in digital education as well. I would like to say that a lot of parents do not actually know about these things. And so if you do not know something, you definitely cannot ask your child to get into it. And so you need to have an understanding about these things. Thereafter, you can introduce your child to it. So Emmanuel, what do you think is the role of the parents in digital education for a child?
Okay, for me, basically, I think it will be around support, right? Giving their children the 100% support they need, whether the moral support, whether the financial support, and all that, right? So we don't want to come to the through the route of, since we're dealing with underserved. So if we're talking about underserved communities. For the most part, these communities have parents where their major craft is usually on farming, probably trading, and all that. They don't probably have the literacy, right? The educational background to help their children in terms of learning the skills and all that. But one of the things they can do financially and the moral support they need. So, for example, let me give an example. So, from where I come from, right? I used to teach. So those years I taught when a school is resuming around September, students resume either 1 month late to school. I mean, literally 1 month late to school. And what's the reason behind that? At that time, they're already harvesting crops from the farm, maize and the rest. So they need their children to go help them in the farm. So when you come to the school, you don't see the children asking, where are these guys? They say they've gone to the farm. So
Mm,
a situation where the students need to be in class or need to be in a hub learning the skills, the parents are saying, let's go to the farm. It's going to demoralize the child. Maybe the child is already picking interest. And then tomorrow you're supposed to go and then start an learning. And then the parents are saying, let's go to the farm. If you don't go to the farm, you're not going to eat and all that, right? So in as much as yes, the children have to help these parents in the farming, whatever work they do, I think they need to give them the moral support they need. Just encourage them. Even if you don't have the money to buy this gadget for them, but there's a place to learn. You can do the little you can for them, giving them transport money. Let's say the place is far to go learn.
mm,
It goes a whole lot. I think for some footballers, Ronaldo or it will tell you his mom supported him, just kind of you have to go and train and all that. So that encouraged him and he has done so well in football, professional football. So again, it has to do with orientation. Go to PTA meetings and then let these parents know that this is the future. You have to give your children the support they need, else they'll be left behind. They don't even understand, just like you said. Some of the parents don't even know what you can achieve with this thing. But by the time you go, you make that orientation, you sensitize them, they get to understand and then they give the children the support. So for me, I think it's just give them the support. That's the role of the parents. And financially, whatever you can, but the support is the support.
All right, thank you very much. I'll just like to say a little something before the other speaker comes in to talk about this. The part about support is very, very important. I mean, I think our parents have this ideas that when we pick up gadgets, I mean, laptop, phones, and we use this thing, is that they feel that we are using it to chat or we're using it to do something that is irrelevant. I mean, naturally, an average Nigerian parent, when you are with your phone, you're always like, is that phone that you're pressing that is making you to have a dick? Is that phone you're pressing that is making you to have stomach pain and all that? And so they believe that you actually using those gadgets is like, you're not you're not doing yourself any good by using those gadgets. And so I guess our parents actually need to be sensitized about these things as well, the usefulness of these things. I mean, you mentioned something earlier and you said technology is the future, and that is the truth. And so if these children do not have access to these devices, if they don't have access to this technology, there is no way they can grow. I mean, they can definitely not stand on the same ground with their peers because they don't have the basic understanding they should about these devices. Mutraya, can we hear you, please?
Okay. So about this question, all I have to say is, aside from giving them monetary support and that. I think you have to let them reasons why they have to allow their children to actually go and learn something. My mom will always say something like, I did not go to school, yeah. So that's why I want each and every one of you to go to school. I think probably someone have already made or see the reason why children must go to school and become someone better. Because in this age and time, I don't know. If you not attend school or have education, I just feel like you feel irrelevant and you not even be able to speak among your peers. So with parents, even as they are into farming, trading, and all of that, we have to let them see reasons why their children need this education because even then they can see right now it has affected their lives. The fact that they were not introduced into education and they were just introduced into farming, probably when in the age of 5 or something. And that's why they are also doing the same thing. Probably some of them, because most of these people are also naturally. If they are probably put them into school, then they would have been better people by now. So we really have to tell parents and let why they should allow their children to go into education or let them learn, stop involving them in trading and all of that. You are old enough, you can always look for a way to support your children. As far as you already know, you already have a motive or aim to achieve. To even you even want to work harder because of that child, so that that child can go and be a better person than you are. Do you understand? So that's just it. We just have to let parents see reasons why their children should
Yeah.
actually themselves.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raya. I think it all boils down to the sensitization we mentioned earlier. It is very, very important. Godwin, can you hear your view on this?
Okay, you guys are not doing justice to me because I have to speak last, and then they were speaking all the points I had
My
in mind.
sorry.
But by the way, okay, still building on the sensitization. I believe every child wants to see the success. Every parent wants to see the success of his or her child, and I believe if our parents supported us to go for computer trainings while we were out of school, I think there's nothing they cannot support us to do. You understand? So it still boils down to the sensitization. I believe we could leverage the PTA meetings to sensitize parents on the need for their children to be enrolled in digital learning. And basically, just like Emmanuel said, we could just summarize everything to technology is the future. You understand? So whoever hears that technology is the future wants his child to be part of the future. You understand? So when the children goes back home, their parents will tell them, "Have you done this? Have you done that?" Because then when you see your child maybe engaging one digital tool, it's not a new thing to you because you've already been sensitized right from school, so you know what the child is doing. You understand? Like a lot of times, even at this time when I go home, I'm pressing my system, and they're like, "What are you doing on your system?" So because the conventional thing people know laptops is you type, and then you watch movies, or you're
Mm,
doing cyber fraud. So let the parents know and let the parents know it well. You understand? Technology is the future, so you need your child to be part of the future. So give your child all the support he or she needs to be part of the future. Yeah.
thank you very much, Godwin. And so we would all agree with me that one of the challenging subjects that students have issues with is mathematics. I mean, I remember when I was in primary school, not even primary school, secondary school, all through to university. I never liked maths. I mean, it wasn't really my strength. I never liked it at all. It gave me headache, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who is in these shoes. And so, what is the impact of interactive learning on this challenging subjects? I mean, subjects like mathematics. How does it make it easier for them? How does it make it? How does it help the student learn it much more better and in an easier way that will be easy for them to assimilate and comprehend? Raya.
Okay. So you mentioned before that these oranges or images, we need oranges or pictures for them to see like they're adding 5 oranges and 3 oranges you can see, and then if we include audios, like not just images, like when they're hearing, what you hear actually sticks. So when they are hearing this stuff and everything and they see what you are doing, it will make it easy for them to understand maths. It's not like the ages where we used to use stones. Do you understand? Or we'll go and look for the cover of Coke and Fanta to start gathering it to do. So we want to do it in the form of technology now. So we are going to use images because what they can see, they will assimilate better because they can remember.
Mm,
Do you understand? So I think
yes, I.
I think that's a good way of actually helping them learn that using images. And
Thank
then
you. Images, infographics, very vital. Thank you, Rayu. Can we have Emmanuel?
All right. So from here, right, you just can't overestimate how interactive learning will help students, overcome the fear of mathematics. When people ask me, I'll say there is, for the most part, maybe it's just the fear of numbers. I really think math is not as complex as English language is, right? But
You
people
serious?
100% of the time would disagree, right? And I think again, it's the orientation you get first when you enter school, where they tell you, this thing is difficult. We did one
Yeah,
calculus, it was not
yeah,
calculus
yeah.
at all, and so you go with that mind. And again, another thing is people tell you our math teachers math teachers are always mean, right? They come to the class with this
Yeah.
sneer where
And they're smiling. They are never smiling.
exactly.
They're
So you
always
just want
frowning.
to, yeah, you just want to run away from the classroom. So it kind of affects you going forward, your mindset as you climb through the ladder of school from one class to the other. But I think again, let me give an example, right? So it was in 100 level. So while we're taking calculus, I remember this lecturer that was taking us this calculus. He made an example with that calculus. He was showing us how to calculate a land using calculus. I mean, literally, it felt interesting because I'd never seen it that way. And I was already thinking of the next action point for me. When I go out, I see land. How can I use this same approach to
Mm,
calculate this land? You see, when you have real life example, when you make it relatable in to the environment, children, it will always be fun for them. I think that's the more reason why in school they will use oranges because they know you are always taking oranges, apple, it's fun and all
and
that.
it's
This
relatable.
exactly. So these approaches, they are one of the approaches that can help people overcome the fear of mathematics, right? And aside that, seeing again, we are tilting towards the digital age where you don't have to be using both the apples and the rest. As you advance, you're no longer counting with apples. In fact, 2 minus 4 is not impossible again as you advance. It is possible, right? But you need to show people how can we use it. This thing I just taught you, this equation, this algebraic equation, how can you use it in real life? You make them solve puzzles with it. The other time we were talking about gamification of some of the subjects. How can
Yeah,
they solve a
legal.
puzzle on their phone using an equation when they are
Mm,
able to do it? And you spoke about leaderboard, and I think I love that idea so much, right?
yeah.
So when you're able to solve this puzzle, you find the next leader. Just put a system of reward. Your reward
Mhm.
must not always be intrinsic. You can make it extrinsic from the environment, bring it so that people, the students can see that yes, there is value in this thing. I think for the
Mm.
digital side of things, just make it as a puzzle, use it as a game and all that. And I feel they are going to students will summon the fear of mathematics. Yeah, that's my take.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So before Godwin comes in to say his own part, I would just like to say that everyone loves to be celebrated, don't we? Everyone loves to be acknowledged when they do something good, when you do something right. And so somebody in the comment section is talking about how financial support is good, but emotional support is also good as well for the parents. It's always good when you do something and there's somebody there to support you, somebody there to acknowledge what you are doing. And so our parents could also come in that aspect. Now, taking it back to the leaderboards we are talking about, it doesn't necessarily have to be intrinsic, like Emmanuel mentioned. It could be something that, okay, say when you actually attain a particular stage, there's just something that puts you out there just to celebrate you. And so when people are actually celebrated, when students are celebrated that way, it pushes them naturally to want to do more. Everyone wants to naturally like spotlight and you want to be there. And so when you see that people are celebrating you, you just want to do more. You just want to give it your best. You don't want to be a disappointment. You don't want to let people's hope in you crumble and whole. So naturally, when we give emotional support as well alongside financial support, it helps for the kids as well. Godwin, let's have you, please. Hello, Godwin, are you still there? Emmanuel, can you hear me? Let me be sure it's not from me.
Yes, I can hear you. Probably is having some network
Okay,
issues.
I think Godwin is having some network issues. Okay, so while we wait for Godwin to return, we'll just take the next question. And so the next question is about overcoming network and connectivity issues. I mean, I remember the first time we were having a conversation, Emmanuel, you were talking to me about internet connection and how it's a disadvantage to the underserved communities and the efforts governments are making to make sure that this is actually curbed. And so I would just like you to brief us a little about what you were discussing with me. I'm
All
not sure if
right.
you remember.
Well,
You.
Yeah, I can remember.
All
I can
right.
remember that. So the issue of connectivity, I think, is for me in Nigeria, especially in Africa, it's long overdue for us who are trying to even meet up global standards. When we don't have access to the internet, what can we do? Right? Imagine we're coming on here and then we're having network issues here and there. The discussion
Yeah.
cannot even flow, right? But I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the major issues that has been around so let me start from cost and then let me talk about and then I'll talk about accessibility as well, right? So from the cost perspective, has always been the issue where the right of way. So right of way is basically the fee that telecom providers, right, pay to state governors to government to lay those fibers, whether it's 4G fibers, to just put in their infrastructure and get things running. So when it's very high, per meter because they measure it per meter. So imagine a situation where it's very high. You have very few people that can compete there. But think about a situation where it is very, very low. You have lots of competitors coming into play, and then it means that if you don't give me good access to the internet, I'm going to switch to the next, right? So the competition is fierce. So people want to give you better service. For example, if my MTN is not working well, I have to go to Airtel. If Airtel is not working, I have to go to Glow. So, but for the most part, we switch around MTN, Glow. Use even MTN and Airtel because, sorry, I'm not trying
Yeah.
to blast.
MTN
Do
is
you
blue is not
understand?
autonomous.
so, so I think it's an area we need to really deal with. I think it was early this year, maybe Nasarawa state government. They said they made it free. I'm not sure about that. Not verified. They made it free, the right of way, so you can come late. So you see, in that situation, you can have several people. So I remember early this year, I was battling with the internet, and my friend was like, "Hey, go use Fiber One." And I was like, Fiber One. So I started Fiber One up, and they said Fiber One is not available in Just. They just have in Lagos, Abuja, I think one other state like that. And I was like, come lane, Just, but just, I don't know. Because I needed a good. But the crazy thing is, I saw a comment on a tweet on Twitter that was saying, he can never use Fiber One in his life. Never. So imagine that kind of situation. So these things are a problem where you're working remotely or you're trying to learn and then the network is not good at all. So from the cost perspective, we're paying so high to access the internet and then we're not even getting value for our money. Then for
Mm-hmm.
access perspective for these remote areas, these underserved areas, it's really difficult. I think it's recently where the Minister of Communication, but Dr. Bosun Tijani started talking about how can we. I saw. I'm not sure I read it true and true, but maybe seeing how they can better give people access in those areas internet so that they'll be able to meet up to the standard they are looking out for. But I think for me, if you ask me at this point, Starlink is available, right? In the first place, we started talking about collaboration. If we really want to to improve digital literacy, right, we need that collaboration. There are people who are ready to give the money. Why can't we buy Starlink and mount in those places? Starlink is able to cover up to 297 meters square, right? It has a wide coverage. The internet is good. So why don't we have it? The subscription, maybe, I'm not sure. It was moved to 75,000 per month, but I think recently someone was saying they brought it back to 38,000 naira so per month. And then you get access to the internet. We can leverage Starlink, right, in these remote areas where MTN and Airtel cannot get to. Right? I think these are some of the things we should be looking into. For me, if you ask me, some of these local government, they can provide Starlink for up to 5 of those schools, the local government alone. Starlink is just a little above maybe 400K, right? If it's 400K or even 500K, that's 2 million naira. And what's the cost per month? Is nothing compared to the money they spend on themselves, on their luxuries and all that, right? I think we have to be intentional in trying to. Even you, Moji, you can also donate, right, to this community and then just buy Starlink, go
Of
mount.
course. We are doing it
We
together. We are doing it together.
exactly. I mean, that's the collaboration we're talking about. We cannot come together, bring in the money, and go mount in the school, let them get access to the internet and learn. And for us, we're making the impact. So for me, I think that's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Honestly, our time is flying so fast, and this conversation is just getting interesting. So, before I hand over to the next speaker, I would just like to say that it also helps if these children have access to these educational resources offline. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, one thing that I've been using the Oppia website for quite a while now, and one thing that I'm very familiar with on the Oppia website is the fact that every resources that these children have to have access to are available offline. So you don't necessarily have to have internet access, say in a place like Nigeria, before you're able to access the things. I mean, I believe once you download it on your mobile phone, which is much more easy for a lot of people, for flexibility on the go and whole. So once you download it on your mobile phone, you don't need internet access to be able to access this educational resources for you to learn the different lessons available on the platform. So Godwin, can we hear your point of view?
Okay, let me start from where Emmanuel stopped about the Starlink and them having mobile Wi-Fi on some of these schools. I think that's the first step in having digital education in underserved communities because just like you said, we could collaborate with government agencies, collaborate with non-governmental organizations, and I believe once the collaboration is there, it's not it's not a huge amount for the schools to be paying for the subscription per month if they are really serious for the students to learn. You understand? Something you could just share the amount across the number of students you have in your school, and then you could just have maybe 200 per word, and then you get the money for the subscription. You understand? So, and then building on that, while we get before we get to that point where we'll be able to have mobile Wi-Fi in our schools, I think let's leverage the offline apps. I remember one time I went for a voluntary exercise with UNICEF. I think somewhere in 2021, and then the communities we went to for the work, they don't have mobile network of any type. So we went with offline apps. So we were able to do our work. Everything was offline, and then when we come back to the cities, we then upload them
Yeah.
for visibility. You understand? So we could leverage such kind of mobile and offline apps that could be easy for students to access. The interface is easy for them, and then they could leverage on that. Because I remember, like in my community, I think we got mobile network somewhere around 2007. So prior to that, we were just living in the dark. You understand? So there are still communities like that in this country, in underserved places. So while we wait for the promises of the Minister of Digital Communications, Dr. Bosun Tijani, to come to light, so we could leverage offline applications for such communities where they could just interact with these tools and then come up speed before they can be able to connect to the internet 100%. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gertrude. Raya, do you have anything to say?
Okay, I think I do. I have it to say. So we have been mentioning Starlink, data, everything. Let's not forget that we have electricity issue in
That's
Nigeria.
true.
This
That's
does
true.
everything. Do you get? Yes, the offline app very is very good. Like they can always download the videos and watch them again when there's no data. Yes, but then now light, we have to come in through power supply also. So even as we are getting Starlinks, we have to start thinking of either generators or inverters. So to even keep them, so even when the phones have gone off or there's no data and there's some videos and they have a particular problem, they can always go back, watch the videos and try to retrace their step and what might have gone wrong or what they might have done wrong. So I think we still have to come in terms of electricity because that's one of our biggest problems. Other served areas, there's no electricity most of the time. So even when we are thinking of data, we should also think of electricity to power gadgets too. So
That
that's
is
all I have.
true. That is true. I mean, power supply is very, very important. I mean, we can all relate. We're experiencing it right now. So, finally, we're just going to be taking the very last question. Honestly, our time is fast spent. And so, the very last question is about the future of education in underserved communities. I know that we've mentioned the future of education in technology and all, countless number of times on this discussion. And so I would just like us to ascertain for these children, what is their future when they begin to use this technology? I mean, what is their hope? What are we actually putting out for them to see and gaze upon and look upon such that they are steadfast on it and they walk towards it? I'd like to hear from Godwin first.
Okay. You said what's the future of technology for in underserved communities, right? Am I right? Yeah. So just like Emmanuel has always said, technology is the future. You understand? So it's more of like we're bringing them up speed to the realities on ground. You understand? Despite the fact that we are some steps behind in technology, but we still have people that don't have a single idea about technology. So when this thing gets to them, you're bringing them up speed. You're bringing them up to date with the realities on ground. That technology is the future, so that they don't get caught up with the reality, so that it doesn't just come like it doesn't just catches them by surprise. You understand? So when you get to them and then they start from these basics, they may not really go that technical, but when they have the basics, like maybe some as little as Microsoft Word, as little as Excel, as little as PowerPoint, they already have the basics. Just like Ayo said in her first point, where she said she was teaching a child UI design, and then the child could not even move a frame. You understand? That's because the child does not have that basics. You understand? So when you have the basics, scaling up doesn't become an issue for you because at whatever point you already have the basics. Some of us started using computer not because we were taught, but because we just carried the computer and we just started doing what we
Sure.
could at that point. You understand? So when we started learning the technical aspect, it was not difficult for us because we already had the foundation long time ago. You understand? So it is added advantage to them and then to the nation as a whole because for every child who is trained, for every child who is taught digital literacy, it becomes an asset to the nation. You understand? So I believe for every child who is taught digital literacy in underserved communities, we are sure that to an extent the child's future is going to be bright, and then the nation at large is going to be built. Yeah.
Now, I'm holding one thing from everything you said. Now, you said from every child who is taught digital literacy becomes an asset to the nation, which is something that is really big, honestly. And I'm sure it starts from the community and enlarges to the country as a whole, which is a big thing for the country. All right, Mutaraya, can we hear you?
Sorry. Okay, so the future, what's their future? Them how to use technology to learn everything. So one way to do this, solve this problem and let them know is by increasing access to technology. We have said it. Then, as mobile technology becomes more and more prevalent, students in rural areas, they will probably get access to affordable devices. And that's the thing, laptops are expensive. Desktop too, they are expensive. So we will need people to actually support us so we can actually give out these things so that these children can learn. Because without all this, we keep saying it, no support, no way for them to get access or gain access to these devices and internet. Even after you have provided them the devices, we still need to support them with internet connection and data and everything to enable them engage with digital learning resources. And we have to personalize learning experience, the use of adaptive learning technologies, educational content. So these children can, and then we have to, I think we have to show them things that other children in other countries are doing. Do you get? I think someone will get, even us with our age and everything, we're always motivated when we see someone around our age doing something, or someone below our age doing something
Yeah, just to bring them up.
extraordinary, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
yes, like I wish I could do this. So when it show like children in China that are already building mobile gadgets and all of that, you see that oh you can also do this thing too. So you let them feel like they are not restricted maybe because of where they are or the country or whatever background they are coming from. So we just have to even show them there are people that do these things. We are trying to let you see that you can also do, and that will actually motivate them to actually do something. And that's all I have to say. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Raya. Thank you so much. Emmanuel, can we have you, please?
All right. So for this, I'm going to take it from Godwin and Muturayo, right? So Godwin said of course, they have to understand the future of the country, not just the country, the world at large. And Mutara started talking about around showing them what other people are doing, other communities in Sena climes. I think it's very, very important. There is there is a big hope, but then how do you sustain that hope? It's just by showing them the goal. What's the goal? For me, when I started to learn, when I ventured into data science, for the record, I don't do data science. I don't even code. I don't do anything around that. I wanted to do machine learning, and for what reason? Machine learning around health that could easily, you know, do kind of disease diagnostics and all that, right? And for me, that was the motivation because I felt like I could solve a whole lot of problems. When you begin to show these children that, see what Elon is doing, Elon Musk is doing, and he started at a young age. See what Zuckerberg is doing, he started at a young age. Show them these innovators and what they can do, and show them they can do same, right? For me, it's the source of motivation is what is going to sustain them and show them that regardless of the challenges they are currently facing, it's not going to stop them. And again, I think another thing is to show them what is possible, what they can be with that. For the most part, some of us are benefiting from tech, right? You're working, and then show them that they don't have to be a doctor, they don't have to be a lawyer. Tech can
Yeah.
pay their bills. People are earning in thousands of dollars, right? They are making money, living big. Show them that it is possible. It is possible to do big things from a small place. They don't have to be in Dubai. They don't have to be in the US, right? They can be in their little community so long as they have access to light. Just like Muturayo said, they have access to the internet. They can be earning in millions and change the life of their family as a whole. And then there's lastly, I think there's a model. I think maybe Oppia can think about that. So I think it was last year I was volunteering with an organization. I was working with another organization in Kenya, right? We're trying to implement digital literacy for those on the South community. And then I was suggesting to them, I, I have not had a name to call that model, but I know it's in play. I don't know how sustainable that is. But I said it's possible to take hubs, right? Teach people from this on the South communities and after 6 months or a year, when they are solid, connect them with jobs. When they are connected to jobs, right, they are earning. There would be more like an MDA where they have to give back to the community, give back. So that money that is coming is used to sustain the whole process continually. So with that, you get a system where you are empowering people, they are getting a job, and then they are coming back to say, hey, we're paying back to help others to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
money. I think it's a model that can work because if you leave it to the hands of the government, it will suffer. If you just sit down and say, oh, there are people, but I think we can pick up a system like that and think about it, think of a better approach, how we can fine tune it so that people get access. You are making impact, they are making money, they are giving back. You don't have to keep pouring money because the money they are giving back is able to sustain this process. So that's why I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Okay, so before we round up this session, I would just like to mention some things that I jotted down while we were talking. Um, you made mention of having people to look up to. So in this case, I'll take that as a role model. And so I will see it as when these children actually have people to look up to in the country, I mean, in the community, in this space, the space of digital literacy that we're talking about, it becomes something that is relatable for them. And so you're like, oh, I see that lady. I want to be like her. I see that man. I want to be like him. It makes them have this hope. It gives them the hope that is actually needed to propel them forward to do whatever it is they are supposed to do. I would also like to talk about the part of giving back to the community. This is very, very important, honestly. I mean, when those children have been equipped, it's easier for them to come back to give back to their own community because it's like you are doing yourself good back. I mean, somebody helped groom you, and so you should help groom others. It's like I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of thing. That way, everyone can have access, full access to this resources that we are talking about. And I would also like to use this opportunity to talk about how Oppia is also looking for partnerships so that we can get these resources, make it available globally to the underserved communities. That way, everyone can be a part of this be a part of this be a part of the resource, and make sure that the resources is getting to everyone. Nobody is being left out. Nobody is being pushed aside. Everyone has full access to these resources and is making good use of it. I would like to wrap up discussion today. Honestly, it has been a very, very interesting one. And I'd like to thank everyone that made themselves available, the invited guests, and those who are also present in our comment section. Thank you so much. And I hope that we can do more of this later on. Thank you and have a nice day.